signature dried on parchment while her mother was still carrying her. 20 years later, a stranger arrived to collect what had been promised to him. Lady Isabel Thornfield learned about the contract on her 20th birthday. Not as a gentle revelation, not as careful preparation for her future, but as a cold statement of fact delivered by her father while she sat in his study, still wearing the pale blue dress from her birthday celebration the night before. "A man is arriving this afternoon," her father said without preamble. "The Earl of Pemberton. You will marry him in 3 days." Isabel stared at him, certain she'd miss her. "I'm sorry, what?" "The Earl of Pemberton. Your betrothal was arranged before your birth. The contract specified the marriage would take place on or immediately after your 20th birthday. That was yesterday. He's coming today. Saturday." The words fell like stones into still water, creating ripples Isabel couldn't yet comprehend. "Before my birth? Father, what are you talking about?" Her father opened a drawer and removed a document, yellowed with age, the ink faded but still legible. He placed it on the desk between them. "Needed capital to save the estate 20 years ago. The old Earl of Pemberton provided it in exchange for a promise that his son would marry my firstborn child if that child was a daughter. You were born 7 months later. The contract became binding." Isabel picked up the document with shaking hands. The date at the top was from 20 years ago, her father's signature at the bottom, and beneath it, terms that made her blood run cold. "The firstborn daughter of Lord Thornfield shall, upon reaching her 20th year, be wed to the eldest son of the Earl of Pemberton. No refusal shall be permitted. No delay shall be granted. The marriage shall proceed as agreed." "You sold me," Isabel said quietly. "Before I was even born, you sold me." "I secured our family's future," her father corrected. "Without that capital, we would have lost everything. You've lived in comfort your entire life because of this arrangement. And now you're collecting the debt by handing me over to a stranger. You're fulfilling a contract that has been in place since before you drew breath," her father said firmly. "The Earl is arriving at 4 o'clock. You will greet him appropriately. You will comport yourself with dignity, and you will marry him on Saturday as agreed." "I don't even know his name," Isabel said, her voice breaking. "Nicholas is 32 years old. He inherited the title when his father died 8 years ago. He's wealthy, respected, and by all accounts a reasonable man." Her father's tone softened slightly. "Isabel, this could be much worse. The Earl could be cruel or dissolute. Instead, he's apparently quite respectable. You should be grateful." Isabel looked at her father, this man who'd raised her, educated her, given her everything she'd ever wanted, and realized she'd never actually known him at all. He'd been kind because she was temporary, generous because she wasn't really his. He'd loved her the way someone might love a borrowed book, knowing eventually it would have to be returned. "Does Mother know?" Isabel asked. "She's known since before you were born. We both have. 20 years, her entire life, her parents had known she belonged to someone else. Every birthday, every accomplishment, every moment of her childhood, they'd all been leading to this, to being handed over to a stranger who'd been waiting to claim her." "May I be excused?" Isabel asked quietly. Her father nodded. "Remember, 4 o'clock, be presentable." Isabel left the study and went directly to her mother's sitting room. Lady Thornfield looked up from her embroidery with an expression that was equal parts sympathy and resignation. "He told you," her mother said. "It wasn't a question." "You knew," Isabel said. "My entire life you knew, and you never said anything. What would have been the point? You couldn't change it. Telling you earlier would only have made you miserable for longer. So instead you let me be happy until the last possible moment." Isabel felt tears burning her eyes. "Mother, I have plans. I was going to travel. I wanted to study languages, maybe teach. I thought I had time to decide my own future." "You never had that time," her mother said gently. "The contract was signed before you were born. Your future was never yours to decide." Isabel sank into a chair, feeling as if the ground had disappeared beneath her. "What is he like, the Earl? Have you met him?" "Once, years ago, when his father brought him to verify the arrangement. He was perhaps 14 at the time. Serious. Quiet. He didn't seem pleased about the contract, but he accepted it as his duty." So we're both trapped, Isabel said. You're both honoring agreements made by your fathers, her mother corrected. That's different. Is it? Isabel asked. It doesn't feel different. At precisely 4 o'clock, a carriage arrived. Isabel watched from her bedroom window as a tall man in dark traveling clothes stepped down and was greeted by her father. She couldn't see his face from this angle, only his posture, straight-backed, formal, controlled. That was the Earl of Pemberton, Nicholas Ashford, the man she would marry in 3 days. A maid came to fetch her. Your father requests your presence in the drawing room, my lady. Isabel followed the maid downstairs on unsteady legs. At the drawing room door, she paused, took a breath, and entered. The Earl stood by the fireplace. He turned when she entered, and Isabel got her first clear look at the man she would marry. He was handsome in a severe way, dark hair, gray eyes, strong features that suggested he rarely smiled. Tall and lean, with the bearing of someone accustomed to command. He looked older than 32, or perhaps just worn down by responsibility. Lord Pemberton, her father said, may I present my daughter, Lady Isabel? Isabel curtsied automatically, keeping her eyes down. Lady Isabel, the Earl said, his voice was deep and carefully neutral. I'm pleased to finally meet you. My lord, Isabel managed. Perhaps you two would like some time to become acquainted, her father suggested, already moving toward the door. We'll leave you to talk. Before Isabel could protest, her parents had left the room, closing the door behind them. She was alone with the stranger, who would become her husband in 3 days. An uncomfortable silence stretched between them. Finally, the Earl spoke. I realize this situation is difficult for you. It's not what either of us would have chosen. Isabel looked up at him. Did you know about the contract, about me? I've known since I was 10 years old that I would marry Lord Thornfield's daughter. I didn't know your name until last year, when I wrote to confirm the arrangements. The Earl's expression was unreadable. I'm aware that you were not informed until today. I argued against that approach, but your father insisted it would be easier for you this way. Easier? Isabel repeated. He thought it would be easier to spring this on me with 3 days' notice rather than giving me time to prepare. Apparently so. I disagreed, but I have no authority over how your father manages his household. But you have authority over me, Isabel said quietly. After Saturday, you'll have complete authority over me. Something flickered in the Earl's eyes. Legally, yes, that's how marriage works. But Lady Isabel, I want you to understand something. I may have agreed to honor this contract, but I'm not a tyrant. I won't mistreat you or make your life miserable simply because we're bound together by our father's agreement. What will you do? Isabel asked. I'll treat you with the respect due to my wife. I'll provide you with a comfortable home and security. And I'll try to make this arrangement as tolerable as possible for both of us. Tolerable, Isabel repeated. That's your aspiration, tolerable. What else can it be? The Earl asked, his tone practical. We don't know each other. We didn't choose this. The best we can hope for is mutual respect and civility. Isabel felt something inside her harden at his... He was right, of course. But the cold practicality of it, the complete absence of hope for anything more, felt like a door closing. I see, she said quietly. Then I suppose we should both adjust our expectations accordingly. The Earl studied her for a moment. You're angry. I'm trapped, Isabel corrected. There's a difference. You're right, I apologize. The Earl moved toward the door. I'll see you at dinner this evening. We can discuss the practical arrangements for after the wedding. He left without another word. The wedding took place on Saturday morning in the Thornfield family chapel. Isabel wore a gown her mother had commissioned, white silk with lace overlay, beautiful and suffocating. She walked down the aisle alone, her father having already given her away through the contract signed 20 years ago. The Earl stood at the altar looking composed and distant. When the priest asked if he would take Isabel as his wife, he said, I do, with the same tone he might use to confirm a business transaction. When it was Isabel's turn, she looked directly at the Earl and said, I do, clearly, wanting him to see that she was not broken by this. She was complying, but she was not surrendering. They exchanged rings. The Earl kissed her briefly, formally. They were married. The wedding breakfast was small, just immediate family and a few witnesses. Isabel sat beside the Earl and made polite conversation while feeling completely disconnected from everything happening around her. After the breakfast, the Earl's carriage was brought around. Isabel said goodbye to her parents, her mother crying, her father looking relieved, and climbed into the carriage that would take her to her new life. The Earl sat across from her, maintaining careful distance. They rode in silence for nearly an hour before he spoke. Pemberton House is approximately 3 hours from here. It's quite large, so you'll have ample space for privacy. The staff has been informed of your arrival and will assist you with anything you need. Thank you, Isabel said automatically. I should also tell you that I spend significant time in London on business. You're welcome to accompany